It's Antiwar Radio. I'm Scott Horton. I'm talking with Elaine Cassel. And you know, Elaine, I got some specifics I'd like to ask you about, but really, I kind of want to continue the conversation we're having, sort of waxing philosophical there about the State of the Union and so forth, as we talk about all these specifics and the worst crimes that our government continues to get away with. Us libertarians, for example, over at Antiwar.com, our slogan is "War is the health of the state," which comes from an essay by the great liberal writer Randolph Bourne on the eve of Woodrow Wilson's Holocaust in Europe back in the teens. And his point was that during wartime, the state really comes into its own, and it becomes the center of everything. And the executive power, of course, has to become the center of everything. Foreign policy dominates domestic policy. All, you know, whether your road gets repaved is dependent on, you know, the killing of people on the other side of the planet and the different costs against each other there, and on and on. It's a wonderful essay, and I also like to recommend the heroic Robert Higgs, who wrote a book called Crisis and Leviathan, and he calls it the ratchet effect, where even if some of the power is given up, and there are few examples of this, but they do exist, like William Harding's Return to Normalcy, where he said, you know, nuts to all this Edward Mandell House, Philip Drew fascist tyranny. Let's get back to the Republican form of government that we wanted to have and some peacetime and stay out of Europe's affairs. We learned our lesson the hard way and that kind of thing. But the power never goes back to the way it was before the crisis. You'd have a little bit of a repeal, a little bit of a return to normalcy, but never a real one. But I would certainly agree with you that, you know, in the Obama years, he hasn't even tried to give up anything, really. I guess he gave up the excuse that a president can do anything because he's ordained by God to do so, or by himself or whatever. But he still just uses the authorization to use military force passed by the Congress after 9/11 to claim all of the exact same powers as George Bush. So there's your ratchet effect. And the next president will probably be a Republican. It'll get worse. And I'm sorry, I got one more thing to say as long as I'm going on like this, which is that it did not have to be this way. And the American people had a chance. And Ron Paul brought to them peace and liberty on a silver platter. He goes, look, you don't have to be afraid, you don't have to be broke, and you don't have to be a slave. Here is your Bill of Rights back. Here's your son home from the war. Let's do this. And they told him, screw you. And I like Sarah Palin because I like her glasses and some crap. And so, you know, in general, the American people really deserve what they get, which is how all empires fall. The state takes it out on the people who supported it all along. That's the way I look at it.
Yep, pretty depressing.
Yeah, it sucks because, you know, I'm an individualist, too, and there's a lot of innocent people like you and me who get caught up in our neighbor's folly. You know, it ain't fair.
Yep.
Good. Well, here's an example, to be specific, of what we're talking about, and that was the dueling speeches by Barack Obama and Dick Cheney, where Obama went and stood in front of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution at the National Archives and defended himself from the right-wing attack that he was, adopting a weak posture towards the evil terrorists at Guantanamo, etc. And I guess, you know, surface appearances would be that Obama stood up for the Bill of Rights, Elaine, but, you know, what did he really say in that speech? Why is Guantanamo still open?
Because the Congress will not authorize the funds to...
Nah, but he could get it done. He's the freaking president.
Well, I don't know.
Harry
I
Reid
really
can't stop Barack Obama.
Well, I think it's because they didn't force the filibuster. It was a fight that the Democrats didn't want to fight. The Republicans threatened the filibuster, and instead of saying, okay, go ahead, we're going to put it up to a vote, because I'm sure the Democrats, well, especially not now, the Democrats don't have the votes, so they're going to put their necks on the line to close Guantanamo when they'll be screeching the Republicans are, going to defeat them on it, or their constituents don't understand, even if they are Democrats, why Guantanamo should be closed. And so I think that it was a politically untenable position for the Democrats to put their necks out for in Congress. That's my view of it. Okay, and whether or not Obama could, I don't know how he could. The prisons, remember that? There was like all the states in the country except I think it was Ohio saying we're not going to take them.
So yeah, Illinois, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, Illinois. Somebody remember how all the governors then started to gang up and say you're not gonna bring any quote terrorists to our state. Remember how the Congress then said they were going to pass a law that, or the Republicans.
But again, though, I mean, the counterfactual's right there. Ron Paul would have said, "Nuts to you. I don't care about that. The law is the law, and we're going to do it. And how do you like that?"
He's not the president. He's not the president.
I know, but I'm just saying the counterfactual, like how it could have been, it's obvious, you know. And in fact, you know, Glenn Greenwald did a piece where I forget the original piece he was highlighting, but where they quoted Rahm Emanuel and the political guys talking about the thing we want to do for world opinion and our Democratic base is make it appear that we're trying to close Guantanamo without really trying to close Guantanamo. They admitted that out loud in English in order with a period at the end.
Yep.
So, yep. Well, there's your ratchet effect. Crisis and Leviathan, run out and get it. And the war on civil liberties, as you said, this is the exact point that you make. It's been.
Well, that's why they called it a war, Mike. That's why they call it a war, Scott. They call it a war so they can have all that power. That's what I wrote about and others have written about. It's a stupid thing to call it a war. Why are we in Afghanistan where there's 100 Al-Qaeda members there? We got 100,000 troops, right? Because it's power, because it's money. And so what people have to start realizing is don't look at this as if it's Don't look at this as if this is logical and it makes sense. This is more witchcraft. This is democratic witchcraft. It's everybody's witchcraft. It's voodoo. You know, it's mumbo jumbo. But we know why people fight wars, and if you haven't seen it, go see that great documentary, Why We Fight. Why We Fight. Have you seen that documentary?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Eugene Jarecki, right?
Yes, well, it's back to Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex. We fight because of money. Money drives it. And so, you know, it's like take off your glasses, your rose-colored glasses, and stop thinking like there's things are being done for the reasons that are on the surface. It's all bull, you know, and it's a way for a lot of people to make a lot of money, and the rest of the people who aren't making a lot of money, except those who are fighting the war and paying for it, like you and I, paying for the war, and the troops that are fighting it, and these poor guys go sign up because they can't get jobs doing anywhere else, right? So it's a great recruiting market now. But the people that are planning the war and executing the war are doing it for reasons of power and money. And that's as simple as that. And I think that documentary is just powerful. And so you and I run into trouble when we try to dwell in the realm of logic and insist upon justice and adherence to the rule of law, et cetera. I mean, I think those times are so far gone in this country. I don't think, as you see, what difference to the Democrats, especially what few gains the Democrats made, a couple, right, with legislation. Now they're trying to all take it back and kick it back. I didn't vote for that. I didn't want the stimulus. I didn't want health care reform. Not me. And they're falling all over themselves, trying to discredit and disassociate themselves from everything they've done so that they can get themselves reelected. And, of course, they're going to lose anyway, right? But the dishonesty of that, and that the proof that the only reason they're there is to protect themselves and keep getting their salary and their health care and all, there it is. Where are the people of principle? There are damn few of them, right? In Washington and anywhere. I mean, maybe you can count them on one hand now.
Well, that's the thing, really, isn't it?
Are going to lose.
It's in the public imagination, that big marble statue of Abraham Lincoln is the guy in charge up there or something. We have these institutions that we believe in somehow to be the arbiters of how violence is distributed in our society. And, you know, it reminds me of Lysander Spooner, the great abolitionist, individualist, anarchist. After the Civil War, he wrote No Treason, the Constitution of No Authority. And he said, look, the Constitution has either created such a government as we have had, or it's been unable to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist. Hamilton and those guys got it wrong. Maybe the Articles of Confederation would have worked out better. Maybe we could have done something else. But this has been an absolute disaster. There's 600,000 people killed. You know, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I think if D.C. just sunk into the ocean, we didn't have all those neat marble statues that these politicians have built to themselves to kind of reinforce the civic religion of the legitimacy of this government, we might just realize that, hey, we could all live in peace and harmony, more or less, between Canada and Mexico without a national government at all. Why do we need them at all? Why can't we just have
Right.
a free trade agreement between states and a foreign policy of Switzerland and then leave it at that and be happy and rich?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. It seems so obvious to me, but then again, I'm a lunatic, so.
Well, yeah, that's right. You're arguing from logic and the rule of law, right? And that's not where we're at.
Nope, afraid not. Well, listen, history will record that some of us tried to at least call the score on the way down the hill, so you'll definitely have a place on the list, Elaine. You do great work, and I really appreciate all the things that you've done, all the time you've spent on the show over the years so far, and future time as well.
Anytime.
Thank you, Elaine. Everybody, that's Elaine Cassel, civil liberties attorney in Virginia and author of The War on Civil Liberties, How Bush and Ashcroft Have Destroyed the Bill of Rights.